to Life Matters. I'm your host, Brendan O'Connell. Most Americans are unaware of the progress being made in saving baby lives in America. Adoption, concomitant with the concept of something called baby safe havens, is giving viable alternatives to teenagers and women who find themselves unexpectedly pregnant. Moreover, through the innovative and inspirational program that is sweeping the nation, critical funds are being provided to those most in need to take their pregnancy to the full term, resulting in birth. Today's guest will give her unique perspective on how she is meeting the challenges for women to choose life for their babies. Today's guest is a graduate of Barnard College of Columbia University in New York City and received a master's degree and doctorate in philosophy from the University of Navarre in the field of ethics. She earned an MBA from Baruch College, City University of New York. Dr. Rex is married to her husband, Charles, who was a concert violinist for the New York Philharmonic. They are co-founders of the Children First Foundation. Well, welcome, Dr. Liz Rex.
Oh, thank you so much, Brandon.
Dr. Rex, how did you get involved with the Right to Life movement?
I got involved before I met my husband. I was very influenced, actually, by an article that I read that was written by Louis Lehrman. Some may know he ran for governor here in the state of New York. He lost by just a few thousand votes, really. Amazing man. And he wrote an article that was published in the National Review that was called The Right to Life and the Restoration of the American Republic. An amazing intellectual article and very powerful. You know, our nation was founded, the Declaration of Independence, on the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And Lincoln referred to the Declaration of Independence to promote liberty for all. And Louis Lehrman went back to the Declaration of Independence to promote the right to life for all as part of the American Republic that was founded so many years ago. So it was very interesting, got me thinking, and I did get involved. I was single at that point and did fundraisers here in New York City. We raised funding for maternity homes like Good Counsel Homes run by Chris Bell, and pregnancy centers like Expectant Mother Care run by Chris Slattery. These are champions of life here in New York State, providing alternatives for women, help for women. And when I met my husband, he totally agreed with all of this good work. And together, he had talent and I had some time, and we started the Children First Foundation. So that's a kind of a brief introduction, but we went on from there because we adopted 2 children, and we saw firsthand what a difficult but loving decision that is for a birth mother and a birth father. And we saw how the pregnancy centers helped this couple, and we thought, wow, let's do something and make it tax deductible, start a nonprofit organization so that we can do little benefit recitals and give the money to the pregnancy centers. And then we found the Choose Life license plate, and I'll tell you about that if you'd like.
Well, yes. You know, we've had Mary Nordine on this show, and also Russ Ammerling has been on the show. But tell us, what has been what areas do you cover regarding Choose Life license plate, and how is it going?
The Children's First Foundation, as I mentioned, was already in existence, and we saw this cute little license plate back in the spring of 2001, that was before 9/11, that had raised $300,000 for pregnancy centers down in Florida. It was a cute little license plate that said Choose Life and had a little drawing of a little boy and a little girl that were smiling, and we thought, wow, that's a lot of money. $300,000. Maybe we could do a license plate in New York. So we looked into it, and actually there were organizational license plates. You know, we just Googled it. Back then the computers had just started up. And we found that religious organizations like Knights of Columbus had a license plate. I know they're a Catholic men's organization. The Ancient Order of Hibernians, Catholic and Irish, had a license plate made by the state of New York. And there were even political labor unions like AFL-CIO and the teachers' unions, and it was a ballot box checked off that said union yes right on the license plate. I said, wow, I guess, maybe Children First could get a Choose Life license plate approved here in New York. So we called Russ. We tracked him down, and he asked us some questions about who the Children First Foundation was, who we were. And he said, well, can you come down? And we said, sure. So we were all set to fly down to Florida on September 13th, and that's when 9/11 happened. So the flights were all canceled, but my husband couldn't go. But the following week, I went down to Florida, and the rest is history, as they say. We were a good match. The Choose Life plate, I found out, actually supports adoption. And so with our 2 adopted children, we thought, well, that's what we're trying to do. So he agreed and we agreed, and we set about applying for the Choose Life license plate in New York. But unfortunately, we got rejected right away. But I think they didn't realize I'm a bit of a pit bull with lipstick, right? And so we didn't give up. And we wrote back and we explained that all these other organizations had license plates and we support adoption. What was wrong? Isn't there something called freedom of speech and equal treatment under the law? But they rejected us again, and at that point we sought legal assistance. So praise God for all the pro bono lawyers, and especially the Alliance Defense Fund. I don't know what we would have done without them. And so we unfortunately had to file a lawsuit when they just refused to give us our plate. And it's still ongoing. We had to sue them in 2004. We've won victory after victory. In fact, the plate was approved. Our federal lawsuit was won just last month, rather, I guess, November 8th. And unfortunately, the state has appealed it. So New York is not quite over, but the good news is we applied for status and applied for the plate in Connecticut, and they gave it to us without a problem. I don't know if you know, but the Connecticut plates say the Constitution state at the bottom, and they respected the Constitution and approved our plate. So we have the Connecticut Choose Life plate, and then we applied for status and the plate in New Jersey. But unfortunately, they played games with us as well, and we had to sue the state, again, thanks to the Alliance Defense Fund. You just have to stand up for your freedom of speech and your constitutional freedoms. These are very important issues. We are not second-class citizens, and we have the same civil liberties as anyone else. So thank goodness that Christie came into office. They got a pro-life governor elected, and just last year, on December 8th, Governor Christie approved our plate in New Jersey. So we got 500 plates on the road in New Jersey this past year, which raised over $10,000 for the 65 pregnancy centers, and our goal is 50,000 plates in New Jersey. We'd love to see that many plates on the road. Florida has about 40,000, as Russ may have mentioned.
Well, now, how long did it take you in New Jersey from the initial application to when Chris Christie came in? Was it one of the first things he did?
Yes, it was. And we started the application process in New Jersey back in 2002. So it took us 8 years, but it was certainly worth it. And it's a cute plate. And New Jersey is a very pro-life state. And we fully expect that we'll soon have thousands of plates on the road. And it promotes adoption. What's so interesting is that you can present it to people who call themselves pro-choice and say, well, adoption's a good choice. And I'm sure you support adoption, so we can find common ground. And wouldn't you like to provide assistance and housing and counseling for women who would like to choose adoption as a good choice, as a loving choice, mature, intelligent choice, as I like to say, a courageous choice? There's so many millions of couples who would love to adopt a newborn baby. So you can help turn one woman's nightmare into another woman's dream come true. So it raises awareness about adoption, and it actually funds the pregnancy centers and maternity homes that help that woman make that loving choice for adoption, and safe havens, as you mentioned. That our plate also promotes and supports safe haven efforts. I'm not sure if your audience...
Well, tell us a little bit about safe havens. What are they, and where are they?
Okay, safe haven laws have been approved now in all 50 states, and it's not well known what these laws are all about. It's only been the last 10 years, almost coinciding exactly with the Choose Life license plate. I think, adoption is catching on. And Tim Jacquard, who is the founder of the Baby Safe Haven movement, really, saw that babies were being, unfortunately, thrown into dumpsters and left, to die outside, when women just hid their pregnancies out of whatever reason, and then once the baby was born, didn't know what to do with it. It's such a tragedy. So he was an ambulance medical technician and was often called to retrieve deceased babies from toilets and dumpsters and garbage trucks, and he said, this has got to stop. These were living, breathing newborns who were being abandoned and killed. So, and then the women would be prosecuted if they were found and sent to prison. And all he thought that needed to be done was to pass laws where a woman could, for whatever reason, has been hiding her pregnancy, could bring a newborn anonymously to an emergency room or to a fire station or to a police station and hand the newborn baby over safely and walk away, so that the child's life is preserved and her anonymity is preserved, and she does not go to prison. So for abandonment, abandoning a newborn, whether it lives or dies, is, of course, a crime. So he wanted to give desperate women alternatives. So these safe haven laws actually allow an anonymous adoption to take place. The baby is safely relinquished, and the mother can go on with her life. So Governor George Bush of Texas, was the first governor to sign a safe haven bill into law. And almost 10 years later, he was the last one as president to sign into law the safe haven legislation for the District of Columbia. So now in all 50 states, women can, if they need it, bring a baby safely to an emergency room in most states and walk away. So the baby, of course, is immediately adopted. Everyone, there are just 40 couples for every newborn that would love to adopt that baby. And so we support these safe haven efforts here in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, where we are the sponsors of the Choose Life license plate.
I see. Now, there's been in the past violence on pregnant women. Has this been able to mitigate that, or could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, because unfortunately it's not well known either just how desperate women can be when they find themselves with an unexpected pregnancy. It really is so tragic that so many women are actually being coerced into aborting their unborn child. Whether it's the boyfriend or even the husband, tragically, or even more tragically, the girl's own parents, if she's a high school student. Many times they are verbally abused, being told they must get an abortion or they're out of the house, whether it's the parents, the boyfriend, or even the husband. And if they don't want to have an abortion, which is really a dangerous procedure for women, it's an invasion. It's a surgical or a chemical abortion is very harmful. And especially if she doesn't want to kill the child but doesn't know what to do, and many times, unfortunately, they don't think about adoption. They hide the pregnancy. But if they're found out, they can be physically abused, and even it's a studied fact that the leading cause of death among pregnant women is homicide, which is just shocking. So women need alternatives. They need counseling. They need assistance. Many times they need housing because they are thrown out of their homes or they are being abused. This is domestic violence. A lot of the cases of domestic violence surround pregnancies where, the husband or the boyfriend doesn't want to be a father, doesn't want another child, and unfortunately the women become abused. So that's why these pregnancy centers are so important, and maternity homes are so important, to give these women the assistance, the help, the counseling, the resources to bring the child to term and think about adoption, or maybe they will be able to parent the child. Of course, that's always the best option. But that's why funding these pregnancy centers and maternity homes and safe haven efforts, because they also will help the women find counseling, housing, to get themselves through the pregnancy, and then the child is lovingly adopted.
So if you're living, for instance, right now, New Jersey or Connecticut, and you get a license plate, what does this money go to, like maternity homes where these women can stay, or how much money are we talking about here? For instance, in Connecticut or in New Jersey, and hopefully in New York.
Oh well, let me just start with the national. This little license plate in 10 years has gone from $300,000 to over $15 million. Isn't that amazing? It's approved now in 28 states, including New Jersey and Connecticut, where we only have about 350 plates on the road in Connecticut, but since 2003 we've raised $28,500. It's just $25 a year to renew your plate, but as they renew the plate every year, it adds up. And of the $25, $20 is given out as grants to the 33 pregnancy centers in Connecticut. In New Jersey, there are 65 pregnancy centers and maternity homes. And this first year, with just 500 plates and $20 per plate, amazingly, we handed out over $10,000 in grants. So that $25 adds up. The more plates, the more money, and the pregnancy centers are just so grateful. You can imagine in Florida they have about 40,000 plates on the road, and it raises over $800,000 every year, year after year. It's just amazing. Plus, those are traveling billboards, and people are seeing those 40,000 billboards every single day. Everywhere they go, they're billboards that are so positive, so, and we realize that we really are the majority. Between being pro-life and pro-adoption, I think that's probably the majority of all Americans, and that's what, if people would just do that one thing, it's so simple, so effective. Get a Choose Life license plate for every car and truck. Is just $25 a year in most states. So if you go to Russ's website, which is choose-life.org, there's a map, and it shows all 28 states where the plate has been approved and can be purchased, and it's just so effective, and it adds up every year. It's over $1 million, well over $1 million. It's being raised for so many pregnancy centers and maternity homes to help these women choose life and consider adoption if they have a difficult situation.
Well, let me ask you about just the visibility of the plates themselves. Has anyone maybe anecdotally told you a story that they saw the plates and they considered changing from aborting the child to keeping the child?
Absolutely. In fact, on that same website, choose-life.org, there are testimonials of women who, I remember one of the stories where she was being driven to the abortion clinic by her boyfriend, but was very conflicted, and she had not told her parents that she was pregnant. as you know, many states do not have parental consent laws, and so that, the boyfriend or anyone can drive a young woman to an abortion clinic without the parents' knowledge. But on the way, she had to stop to use the restroom, and when she got out, she passed a car in the parking lot of the mall that she was entering that had a Choose Life license plate, and it changed her heart. And she went into the mall and called her parents to come and please get her. And then she said that she would be in the parking lot next to the car with the Choose Life license plate. And the boyfriend left, and when the owner of the car came back to her car, she found this young woman crying and asked her what was wrong, and she told her the story, that she was expecting, that she had changed her mind, and that she was waiting for her parents. Isn't that a beautiful story?
That is an incredible story, really. It
so you'll never know.
Might bring one to tears, actually.
You'll just never know who is behind you or in front of you that is just looking for a sign for help and to make the right decision, to make the right choice, to make a better choice. And we'll know in heaven that, how many babies and women may actually choose life because of their little license plate.
Dr. Rex, how do you? I know here in Massachusetts they let Mary Nordine know through just an email about how much money has come in to the her Choose Life Massachusetts bank account. Is that the same situation in the other states that you deal with, or are there other mechanisms that they?
Yes, I wish we could do that, but we live in a very difficult, I call it missionary territory here in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. But in some states, including Massachusetts, Massachusetts did the right thing, and I encourage all of your listeners, every one of you, to please get a Choose Life license plate in Massachusetts. It's so simple, and it's easy for Mary because it's a legislative plate in Massachusetts. So you can go to the DMV, and they'll process the money. It goes into a fund, and then that check at the end of the year, I guess, will go to Mary, and she simply writes checks to all the pregnancy centers. So it's very easy, and she'll know exactly how many people have taken the plate. In our case, and in other states, it's an organizational plate, which means it's a membership plate. So we basically are asking people, like Knights of Columbus, you become a member of the Knights of Columbus, you pay your dues, and then you can order the membership license plate, like Knights of Columbus or Children First, as through the organization. So we have to actually hand out the application. It's sent back to the organization with the membership dues, and then we forward the application to the DMV, who then sends the license plate on to our member. So it's a little more tedious, a little more work, but it's worth it. So it's working, and it's working well. We've given out over $100,000 since we started this effort in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and we support over 200 pregnancy centers, and it's just a wonderful success story. And in every state, we hope eventually it will be all 50 states, and it will raise millions and millions of dollars and be millions and millions of billboards that go up. It will help create a culture of life in this nation by promoting adoption. There is a good choice. I think we should start calling ourselves pro-life choicers, where people who support the good pro-life choices, there are many pro-life choices. Parenting, of course, but then there's open adoption, closed adoptions, and even anonymous adoptions. We are pro-choice, which is not synonymous with pro-abortion. And I think that's where the Americans are. I think we are pro-choice, but we are not pro-abortion. And we have to clarify and promote that the good choices like adoption and safe havens are where we should be focusing our support for women who need alternatives. They may not be able to parent. They may not want to abort. So adoption and safe havens are good choices, and we can support those good decisions with a Choose Life license plate.
Well, Dr. Rex, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And finally, just quickly, if folks want to learn more about your organization, is there a website?
Oh, yes. Please go to thechildrenfirst.org, and you can sign our petition for our New York Choose Life license plate. There is a national petition. Anyone, please, if you go to our website, send it around to your family and friends. We need to get the New York Choose Life plate approved here in New York as quickly as possible.
Very well, Dr. Rex. We hope you found today's show to be unique, informative, content-rich, truthful, and thought-provoking. Through the generosity of the proceeds of Choose Life license plate, we're confident that folks will understand and appreciate the pure goodwill for both adoption and for baby safe havens. We believe the adoption experience of our guest may lead many other couples to joyful adoption experiences for themselves. Thanks for watching. I'm Brendan O'Connell, your friend for life.